makikita mo from Kaalan Peter Cayetano block ngayon, andin doon ka na sa Soto, Gatchalian, and others block. And I think there is one more senator that will deflect from the side of Cayetano going to the other side para magkaroon sila ng 13 kuno na majority and they elect a new SP. So, makikita mo sa Senado, imbis na ang Senado ang actually, ang role din kasi ng Senado would be a check and balance on the lower house when it comes to bills na gustong ipasa ng lower house na medyo alanganin, hindi na nila nagagawa ngayon yan. Kasi ang nangyayari sa kanila, power struggle sila kung sinong may control at kukontrol sa Senado because of certain issues na very critical sa Pilipinas. And as I have said, dalawa yan existing right now. Yung impeachment trial at saka yung massive corruption in government na kailangan imbestigahan. So, ganun ang nangyayari sa Pilipinas right now. So, kung tatanungin mo ako check and balance, there's no such thing at the moment, to be very frank. Both in the lower and the upper house, there's no such thing. And ang nag-i-exist lang ngayon na arbiter, quote-unquote, na arbiter sa Pilipinas when you talk about our branches of government, which is the legislative, the executive, and the judiciary, ang kumbaga, performing role of check and balance is actually the Supreme Court only.
Samantala, narito na po ang ating talakayan. Kasama po ang geopolitical analyst na si Professor Ana Manlindug. Uy, Prof. Ana, maupay na gabi. Admar at MJ po inyong makakasama sa SMNI.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello everyone. Hello MJ and Admar. Okay ba yung dating ko dyan?
Loud and clear, Prof.
Linaw, linaw.
Okay,
Opo.
great.
Prof, unahin lang muna natin bilang isang geopolitical analyst, pag mga ganito pong may power struggle, lalo na dito sa isang sangay po ng ating gobyerno sa lehislatura, meron pa nga tayong question sa ating ehekutibo, nandyan pa yung krisis sa gitnang silangan at sariling krisis dito sa Pilipinas at sa usaping korupsyon. Ano po yung typical or karaniwan po na pananaw ng ibang mga bansa sa kagaya po natin na may ganito pong klase na problema?
I think, ma'am, ang pananaw ng mga tao sa ibang bansa, yung hindi, especially yung ibang nationalities, at saka from an outsider's perspective, especially on my side, kasi wala ako ngayon sa bansa, marami din naman ako nakakausap ng mga ibang nationalities. Ang unang tinatanong nila is, ano bang nangyayari sa Pilipinas? Iyon yung unang-unang question talaga. Kasi una, ang prominente kasi na nababasa at nakikita nila sa news, lalo na kasi ang social media is very prevalent and apparent kahit saan ka pumunta sa mundo. So, kahit anong nangyayari sa Pilipinas, nalalaman niya ng buong mundo, lalo na sa social media. Kasi alam mo yung Facebook, Twitter, X, and many others. So, ang nakikita talaga nila, unang-una nilang tinatanong is, ang politika ng Pilipinas, bakit ang gulo-gulo? At parang every now and then, may pasabog, kumbaga, at may event. At tinatanong din nila ako, bakit ganito kagulo ang politika ng Pilipinas, domestically speaking? So, ang hirap mag-explain, kasi kapag nag-explain ka, kailangan mo i-trace lahat at i-explain kung anong klaseng, political system meron tayo, yung, kind of form of government. Kasi lahat yan, ang kultura, kung may maturity ba ang Pilipinas when you talk about politics. So, iyon ang una nilang tinatanong. At bakit, hindi lang ang gulo, bakit yung political struggle sa Pilipinas is very prevalent and at the same time among politicians. At isa sa mga tinatanong din, minsan kapag nasa conference ako and I have, kaibigan mong mga international people, ang tinatanong nila lagi is, bakit ang corruption sa Pilipinas sobrang massive? When in fact, hindi, kasi ang sinasabi kasi din nila, lahat naman ng bansa, to certain extent, may level of corruption or may corruption na nangyayari. Pero ang pinag-uusapan kasi dyan, yung level of corruption or index. Pero sa Pilipinas, ang nakikita ng ibang mga nationalities kasi, bakit ganun ka-massive ang corruption at bakit napaka-prominente niya? Kasi nababasa din talaga nila yung mga news at saka yung mga nangyayari sa Pilipinas. At yun yung mga questions sa akin. Minsan, or most of the time, ang hirap mag-explain. So, ang tingin sa atin talaga ng ibang mga lahi, parang ang gulo-gulo ng Pilipinas. At the same time, nakikita din nila na ang economy natin is also struggling. So, hindi maganda ang image natin actually sa international community, at meron ka pang, hindi lang yun ang problema ng domestic politics and even the economic struggle na meron ng Pilipinas at the moment under a Marcos Jr. government. Isa pa sa pinaka-prominente na issue is yung foreign policy, at lalo na yung mga issues na may kinalaman sa Philippine-China relations, at saka may kinalaman halimbawa yung nakalipas na balikatan or exercises, bakit sobrang intensive, at ngayon yung mga, like for example, how intensified naman yung militarization ng halimbawa ng United States sa Pilipinas, at meron ka ng Japan being part, of this so-called alignment. So yun yung mga bagay talaga na prominente at tinatanong ng ibang mga lahi sa akin, especially kapag on travel ako and I'm attending international conferences. At saka ang alam ko, ang tingin nila sa Pilipinas is magulo. Magulo. Yun.
Opo. Ito ba yung weakness din ng form of government din natin po, Prof? Ito ba isa sa mga disadvantage po na resulta po ng ating form of government, o talagang wala yan sa forma ng ating gobyerno? Kasi dito, ang daming mga paru-paroji, mga lumilipat na lang kung saan nila gusto. Doon sila, yung mga ganun po, hindi kagaya sa ibang bansa na may paninindigan talaga, no? At may lehitimong check and balance, kasi magkaiba yung pananaw. Halimbawa, doon sa Amerika, hati yan sila, no? Dalawa lang talaga yung kanilang partido, no? Sa ibang mga bansa din. Ito ba yung nakikita nyo? Or wala talaga yan sa form of government, basta corrupt yung mga or trapo or traditional politician, ganyan talagang mangyayari, Prof?
Sa akin kasi dalawang aspeto yan. Coming from, kasi ang background ko rin is, aside from being an international relations, one of my academic discipline na talagang pinag-aralan is political science. So, coming from a political science perspective, when you talk about political system and the political culture and the political dynamics of a country, I think it's a factor of, it's a product of everything. Sa akin kasi, una, kapag tinignan mo ang Pilipinas, mayroon ka rin kasing argument na kahit ano pang klase ng sistema meron ka, may it be a parliamentary system of government, a form of government, or what you call a presidential form na meron tayo ngayon, kung ang political culture ng Pilipinas talaga at saka yung klase ng mga politicians na mayroon tayo, ganyan, na most of them are corrupt, and you have what you call political dynasties in the country, and which is very prevalent, at saka dahil dyan nagkakaroon ka ng nepotism and so many other issues. So, ang political culture mo, kapag ganyan, kahit anong klaseng form of government ang meron ka, ang isang bansa ay magiging problematic pa rin when you talk about political instability or pagkakaroon ng magandang politika or good governance sa isang bansa. So, that is a very important factor. So, ibig kong lang sabihin is, ang isang bansa, ang pinaka-importante kasi is yung political culture mo at saka yung values and maturity ng klase ng leadership at saka ng mga politicians mo na nasa loob ng bansa. It just so happen na ang Pilipinas talaga may problema when you talk about leadership and when you talk about the kind of leaders, quote-unquote, and politicians we have. We have that kind of vacuum. On the other hand, if you ask me if a presidential form of government is good and or what is best for the Philippines is a parliamentary, sa akin, to be very honest, sa akin kasi, when you talk about check and balance in government, ang presidential form naman kasi, given the system that we have right now, meron naman tayong tinatawag na check and balance, kaya nga may tinatawag kang 3 co-equal branches of government, legislative, executive, and judiciary. Pero sa tradisyon ng politika meron ng Pilipinas at ang practice natin ngayon, yung klase ng co-equal branch of government, yung klase ng, hindi yan kasi in real in real situation in the Philippines, blurry kasi yan. Kasi look at the current administration of BBM or even the previous administration. Ang presidente mo, supposedly, ang kanyang area of concern lang is the executive. But in our in our system and in the way we operate as a country, politically speaking, ang nangyayari, even the president has control over the House and even to certain extent of the Senate, when in fact, dapat co-equal branches of government yan at hindi dapat magkakaroon ng clout. But, in a way, mayroong ganon kasi ang ating mga politicians, kung sino ang nasa taas, lahat yan mag-aalyansa doon. So, nabiblur din ang check and balance mo. On the other hand, when you talk about the judiciary, ang judicial system mo, ang appointing officer kasi dyan is actually the president. To a certain extent, may check, in theory, may check and balance, pero when one person i-appoint mo, tapos may utang na loob ka dun sa presidente na nag-appoint mo, in some ways, nabiblur din ang tinatawag mong check and balance. Kasi supposedly, in theory, kapag co-equal branches of government, independent yan dapat. At dapat, they function accordingly na magkakaroon ka ng check and balance na talagang totoo. Pero in real life kasi and real politics, that is not happening in the context of the Philippines given a presidential system of government. At isa pang problema dyan kasi in a presidential form of government na meron tayo right now is halimbawa you have a president na hindi okay. Hindi siya okay talaga. Like, alam mo yun, ang daming nangyaring hindi maganda, bumabagsak ang ekonomiya mo and all, hindi mo siya pwedeng palitan kaagad-agad. Kasi, like for example, in the Philippines, you need to have 6 years. That president has to stay 6 years in office. Dalawa lang kasi ang pwede mong gawin dyan. Extra constitutional na measure to remove a president, and that is a people power, which is very difficult to mount on, to have. And another one is impeachment. But if the president controls the House at to certain extent the Senate, in terms of numbers, hindi yun man nangyayari. But in theory, dapat, pwede yun. Kasi supposedly, independent nga ang legislative. So, these are the, how do you call this, this is the realities of the Philippines. So, sa akin, if you ask me, kung ano yung tingin ko, I would, for me, ang mas gusto ko is a parliamentary form of government. Kasi bakit? Because the parliament is just one, it's one, and then if there is a crisis in governance, you can actually change the prime minister anytime and you can just have a vote of confidence and then you come up with a new government again. Mas madali kasi ang accountability mechanism at magpapalit ng leader sa isang parliamentary system. Well, as you can see in other countries, like for example UK, and then you have a president as a ceremonial. But at the moment, to be frank, I don't really recommend a change of constitution or a change of form of government precisely because there's a danger that those people in power right now may want to perpetuate or they really want to be perpetuated themselves in power. So, mahirap ang ganong klaseng change of government at this very moment kasi babaguhin mo ang constitution mo at the same time, if you really look at the current politics that we have in the country, ang House and even some members of the Senate are actually allied by the administration or by BBM. So, in a way, kapag nagpalit ka ngayon, BBM would still be the prime minister. Ganun talaga. So, and he can actually, ang danger lang doon, he can actually perpetuate himself in power as long as he controls the parliament. So, medyo mahirap din yun. So, sa akin, sa tanong mo, it's a combination of everything. If the political culture, the kind of the political system, and also the maturity of the Filipino people. As I can see and observe, coming from a very political science na perspective, ang mga Pilipino din kasi hindi pa siya mature. Kasi ang maturity not everyone, but many I think are mature, but many are immature politically speaking. Precisely, alam nyo kung saan mo makikita ito doon sa klase ng mga politicians na binoboto at inuupo mo sa posisyon. It's like a cycle. But I understand, of course, na mahirap ang ganitong sitwasyon. Ang problema ng Pilipinas politically deeply rooted. And for me, to be very frank, if I'm a fairy, I would rather have a reset of the whole system so that we can start fresh. But of course, it's not easy to do that. So,
Opo.
may ganito kang problema. So, it's not necessarily all about the political system. It has something to do with many other factors, including the political culture, the mindset, the maturity, and of our context and also the Filipino people na alam mo yon dapat mag-mature din tayo at lalo na when you talk about electing leaders in very critical position like the president or if we have a change of government maybe a prime minister pero at this time, uulitin ko I'm not advocating for a change of constitution precisely because I'm afraid that many politicians who are now in power would want to stay in power more than necessary or hindi na natin mapapalitan yung mga yan. May danger on that. So yun yung tingin ko in a very short explanation kasi this is a very complex issue na kailangan ng isang 2 hours lecture or 3 hours lecture
Opo.
at least the political science course.
Opo, Prof, bago lang si partner MJ, ito ring sino ba yung dapat magsilbi, tatayo dapat na oposisyon? Kasi nakikita rin natin yung minority dapat yun yung talagang mag-check and balance pero ang nangyayari parang parte ng majority. Naalala ko nga tinanggal pa nga na senior deputy minority leader si Erice. Sabi ko kung tutuusin para sa akin, legit siya kasi talagang naninindigan siya sa na antay siya sa lahat ng mga 'di ba? Kumbaga hindi nagbago yung kanyang prinsipyo po, pero siya yung tinanggal doon sa minority. Well, yung mga kasamahan nila na natili, pero katakataka na para parte din sila ng majority.
Actually, magandang tanong yan, Admar, kasi sa House ang tinutukoy mo, even the Senate, pwede kong i-point out na sa current na sitwasyon ng Pilipinas, even sa side ng legislative, which is the upper and the lower house, makikita mo, wala naman talagang opposition dyan. Because even the minority, the so-called minority in the House of Representatives, they are actually co-opted by the current administration and even politically co-opted by the current administration and even by the majority in the House. So, wala ka talagang makikitang very glaring na opposition or minority bloc. Kasi pag sinabi mong minority bloc, to certain extent, this represents some kind of opposition to the majority. Ikaw ang mag-check Kaya nga may tinatawag kang majority and minority to certain extent para magkaroon ka ng tinatawag na balancing and check and balance. Pero the current situation in the Philippines, really, to be very honest and frank, sa House of Representatives, wala kang ganon. May mga personalities ka sa House that really stand out na they are in opposition to certain policies and to certain things na nangyayari sa House. And very few of them, ma-identify mo yan na kung sino yan. Si Erice is one, but isang tao. Pero pag tinanong mo ako kung yung minority bloc ba is really the so-called opposition and would probably exercise check and balance vis-a-vis the majority bloc, there's no such thing. I'm really very upfront of this. There's no such thing. On the other hand, sa Senate naman, so ganun din dapat. Pero ngayon, malinaw din I'm sorry about these things, but I really have to be blunt. Alam mo, nawawala na rin yung tinatawag mong check and balance or even role talaga ng majority at ano yung role ng minority kasi masyadong politika ang nangyayari sa Senate. Actually, they don't even talk anymore about relevant legislative measures but they are just in a state of power struggle kung kaninong side ang magkukontrol ng Senado at and why. Kasi mayroon kang mga issues na upcoming like for example, flood control and investigation, andyan din ang upcoming impeachment trial ni Vice President Sara Duterte. So, makikita mo, imbis na ang Senado, i-tackle nila ito based on their job and what need to be done. Ang nangyayari sa kanila, nagpa-power struggle sila kasi they want to control the Senate and they want to control the rules and how all of these major issues like the impeachment trial and even the massive corruption in government in terms of oversight, in terms of investigation, paano nila ko-control favoring one camp over the other. So kaya nga may power struggle ka. So right now, makikita mo from Kaalan Peter Cayetano block ngayon, andun ka na sa Soto, Gatchalian, and others block. And I think there is one more senator that will deflect from the side of Cayetano going to the other side para magkaroon sila ng 13 kuno na majority and they elect a new SP. So, makikita mo sa Senado, imbis na ang Senado ang actually ang role din kasi ng Senado would be a check and balance on the lower house when it comes to bills na gustong ipasa ng lower house na medyo alanganin. Hindi na nila nagagawa ngayon yan kasi ang nangyayari sa kanila, power struggle sila kung sinong may control at kukontrol sa Senado because of certain issues na very critical sa Pilipinas. And as I have said, dalawa yan existing right now. Yung impeachment trial at saka yung massive corruption in government na kailangan imbestigahan. So, ganun ang nangyayari sa Pilipinas right now. So, kung tatanungin mo ako check and balance, there's no such thing at the moment, to be very frank. Both in the lower and the upper house, there's no such thing. And ang nag-i-exist lang ngayon na arbiter, quote-unquote, na arbiter sa Pilipinas when you talk about our branches of government, which is the legislative, the executive, and the judiciary, kumbaga, performing role of check and balance is actually the Supreme Court only. Kaya nga sinasabi ko, the Supreme Court is actually the last bastion of our of democracy in the Philippines at this very moment. It's really the Supreme Court. But the thing here is, I am not sure how other people perceive some rulings of the Supreme Court. But I would assume that the justices in the Supreme Court are also trying their best in addressing the issues, critical issues being presented to them by the Filipino people, by certain government officials, or by kung ano-ano mang petition ang nilalaan sa kanila. Kasi mahirap din ang role ng mga justices, when you talk about critical issues na pinipresenta sa kanila, including the impeachment, including ang ICC issues, including yung budget ng 2024, 2025 na ngayon may mga oral arguments ka. So ang daming issues. So I think the judicial branch through the Supreme Court, they are performing, at least to a greater extent, they're performing the so-called check and balances in government, checking the legislative and checking even the executive. So sa akin, ang last bastion talaga right now ng democracy sa Pilipinas, when you talk about institutional integrity, is actually the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, yeah.
Opo, Prof, isa lang po yung tanong ko, Prof. Nakatakda raw pataw ng sanctions ang Chinese government sa Philippine government kapag magpatuloy raw po ang unlawful discriminatory arrest sa mga Chinese national. Ito pong mga Prof, economic sanctions, kabilang po dito yung suspension ng urea fertilizer importation at yung ilang main agricultural products na binibenta po natin sa kanila, pati na po yung refined oil. Gaano kalaking dagok ito, Prof, bilang sila po ang number one buyer ng ating mga produkto at bumibili din po tayo ng mga produkto po sa kanila.
Actually, ito yung alam ko itong issue na to, Thursday pa ata, alam ko na ito kasi a friend of mine informed me about this. Sabi ko nga, this is really not okay for the Philippines kung magkakaroon ng economic. Ganito kasi ang mangyayari dyan, no? Ang sinasabi kasi nila, kapag tuloy-tuloy yung sinatawag mong selective and some kind of discriminatory arrest of Chinese nationals in the Philippines na walang basihan, no? Walang basihan. Ibig sabihin, aresto ka lang ng aresto. Kasi nga, tinatawag selective nga ang tawag nila. At ang ibig sabihin doon, ang Chinese government is right now saying to us, to the Philippines, not only to the Philippine government, but to Philippines as a whole, na sinasabi nila, there will be a retaliatory policy. At I think some of the retaliatory policy nila is yung tinatawag mong pagde-declare kay Gibo and family nila at kung ano-ano pa, na persona non grata daw sa lahat ng territory ng China. But that one, wala pa akong naririnig na official. I'm not sure lumabas na yan, alam ko rin, at saka may nagsabi na sa akin, Thursday pa lang, pero I'm not sure kung mayroon ng lumabas na policy talaga or pronouncement coming from the headquarters, coming from Beijing. Kasi ang nakita ko lang ngayon is the Chinese embassy in Manila. But if the Chinese embassy release it, ibig sabihin there is already there. Naandyan na yan. Now, ang second nilang sinasabi is magkakandak din sila ng crackdown sa mga Filipinos in Chinese territory, including Hong Kong and Macau, and of course mainland, ng tawag nito, na illegal staying in China. And then, and the third one is the economic sanction. Economic sanction meaning, yung export natin sa kanila, it will be affected. And at the same time, ang import natin sa kanila, especially when you talk about agricultural inputs, will be affected. So ito yung mga nandyan nakalatag. Ngunit, ang gusto ko lang i-emphasize, hopefully I'm right, no? Sa pagkakaalam ko, may tinatawag kang conditional if, may tinatawag silang if or conditional. So, ibig sabihin, hindi pa yan siguro i-implement. Titignan nila kung kung tuloy-tuloy pa rin itong nangyayari na quote-unquote selective arrest of Chinese national in the Philippines, especially dun sa kanilang mga investment. Kasi ang China, may mga investment dyan sa Pilipinas na may kinalaman, halimbawa, sa industriya or may mga business in investment dyan So may mga tao sila dyan. So kung patuloy na magkakaroon ng ganun, kasi ang sabi din ng Chinese Embassy, they will protect the interest of China in the Philippines and the Chinese national. So kapag tuloy-tuloy yan, I think they will push through with all of these sanctions. Kasi sanctions yan So sa akin, to be very honest, ang feelings ko dyan at saka yung tingin ko dyan, a little not, well, I feel sad because for me, marami ng problema ang Pilipinas. We don't need additional pressure coming from outside. Kasi kung titignan mo ang ekonomiya ng Pilipinas, struggling na tayo. Ang domestic politics mo, magulo na. Now, ang investment climate mo, wala na. Pababa ng pababa. Ang inflation mo, ang inflation mo mataas, ang value ng peso against the dollar is mababa, and at the same time ang income, ang mga tao in terms of purchasing power mababa, at saka ang GDP mo mababa. So kung titignan mo ang Pilipinas at the moment, sa dami ng gulo at dami ng problema, both politics, foreign policy, and even when you talk about economics, hindi natin kailangan ng additional problem or additional external pressure coming from an economic sanction coming from China. Hindi natin kailangan yon. Mahihirapan tayo as a country. Lulubog ang Pilipinas lalo. So sa akin lang, sana on the part of the government and Marcos Jr. and even to Secretary Chodoro Gibo, you have to balance things out. I am not saying that as a country, the Philippines will not be able to implement ang tinatawag nating law enforcement. Na when you talk about, nationalities in the country na may ginagawang hindi maganda at kalokohan. I think as a country, I believe na dapat nating i-implement ang ating laws and law enforcement when you talk about nationalities in the Philippines, may it be Chinese or any other nationalities na may ginagawang criminal activities sa Pilipinas. I believe in that and I agree with that. However, iwasan natin yung tinatawag mong selective or hindi ganon ka walang basis or walang hindi talaga well established na the cases to arrest certain nationals, especially the Chinese, kung hindi naman talaga, wala tayong basis to do that. Kasi, at saka may legal papers naman pala itong mga to. Alam mo yon kasi ang problema dyan, may retaliation na mangyayari. And kapag nag-retaliate ang isang country tulad ng China, which is a giant, we don't have leverage over China, may it be military defense or economics, ang kawawa dyan ang Pilipinas. At wag na nating dagdagan ang problema ng bayan. Kasi sobra na Ang dami-daming problema. Ang ekonomiya mo struggling, ang politika mo. So we don't need additional extra pressure coming from outside, especially coming from China, who has a leverage over us economically, even in trade. So ang pakiusap ko lang sa ating gobyerno, enforce our laws accordingly how to other nationalities in the country, but make it sure na you're doing it the right way. On the other hand, at iwasan natin yung wrong or napagkamalan lang. Kasi pag nag-retaliate sila, wala tayong magagawa. Kasi
Opo.
wala tayong bargaining chip at wala tayong leverage over them. We are a small, in terms of trade, we're just trading with, ang ano lang, sus ko, I studied already, it's in my paper, na ang trade, ang trade natin sa kanila, kung ang mga 2% lang ata tayo, when you talk about the overall international trade of China across the world. So, wala tayong leverage. So, ang sinasabi ko lang, ayusin natin para hindi mag-suffer ang Pilipinas kasi hindi natin kailangan ng additional pressure sa dami na ng problema ng bansa.
Opo.
Yun lang ang pakiusap ko sa current government ni Marcos Jr., especially doon sa ating mga relevant officials tulad ng defense, ng military, ng PNP, and NBI, and even the Bureau of Immigration. Kasi isipin natin ang bayan natin, no?
Opo.
Medyo mag-isip-isip tayo ng konti, no? Maraming salamat.
Prof, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras at panahon at mag-ingat sila sa iyo.
Oy,
Mag-ingat pala kayo. Prof, maraming salamat.
Maraming salamat. Take care everyone. God bless. Hello, Pastor. Hello po.